All right, let's get everybody seated, please.
Mr. Ross.
All right, this is the hearing that we're having right now is 2001 IM 001 impeachment of Mr. William Benning. Keep in mind this is an impeachment trial and it does not constitute the same ways that we go with the actual trial. We will be giving a opening statement. Mr. Benning, I do see your attorney has not arrived. Is that correct?
That is correct. I believe he may have bailed out on me.
All right. We will keep this just and fair, just the same, Mr. Benning, and you will have your chance to talk as well, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. For the state, who do we have?
Yeah, on behalf of the state, we have Cyrus Hunt, Harvey Ross, Cole Gordon, and Oliver Hall.
Okay. You may be seated. For the state reps, we have State Rep Endeavor Jackson, State Rep Bex Lawson, State Rep Moen Nash, and State Rep Nark. All right, go ahead with your opening statement.
Madam Chief Justice, distinguished state representative. There was a question that I kept having to ask myself when we discussed this case. And really, it's only a question that you can answer. Why did you become a state representative? And what does it mean to you? The answer you may have to that question is to serve the people, to do good for our wonderful state, and as many would say, the greatest state in the world. But William Benning didn't have that same answer. He only had one answer, and that answer was to abuse his power. At the end of this hearing, Mr. Hall will stand before you during our closing arguments before we present our rebuttal closing and ask you one question. And I ask you to keep this question in your mind throughout the course of this hearing. In his conduct, did William Benning exemplify what an elected official must be? You're going to hear a lot of evidence today. You're going to hear some of the disgusting remarks that William Benning made in his capacity as a state representative. You're going to hear how William Benning urinated on a vehicle at Mosley's Autos. You're going to hear about how William Benning began punching people at Black Uber, among many other incidents. Once you've heard all the testimony, piled with the overwhelming amount of evidence against William Benning, we know that you will reach a fair and just decision. A decision that shows the citizens that we hold people accountable regardless of their position. A decision that shows that we don't tolerate anyone abusing their power. And a decision that shows that no one is above the law.
All right, Mr. Benning, go ahead with your opening statement.
Your Honor, state representatives and members of the gallery, my name is William Benning, and well, I cannot dispute what the DOJ is alleging. But however, 45 days ago, this whole fiasco started with a warrant that was signed to have me searched for something that didn't exist in the city, and to this day still doesn't. I believe that there's a conspiracy being made against me to remove me from office. And they're just using little bits and pieces of incidents that the whole truth hasn't come out concerning it. I believe also members of the DOJ have manipulated evidence being used against me, and I can prove that through cross-examination. Thank you.
All right, go ahead and call your first witness.
Going to recall Cassandra Cohen to the stand.
Miss Cohen, make sure you get sworn in and you are talking loudly, please. And
Raise your arm,
off-
please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
All right, go ahead and proceed.
Good afternoon, or good evening, I
Afternoon.
should say.
True.
Could you state your name, spelling your last name for the purpose of the record, please?
I am Cassandra Cohen, and how you spell my last name is, I'll do it in phonetics, it's Charlie Oscar Hotel Echo November.
All right. And where do you work, Cassandra?
I work at the Department of Justice, also known as the State Attorney's Office.
Okay. And have you been involved in a couple incidents with William Benning?
I have indeed.
Okay. And I want to talk about the incident that happened on the 17th of September. Do you recall what I'm referring to?
It's been a while, so I would have to have documentation of statements that I provided.
Sure. What I will do is I'll provide you with a copy of your statement. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right. All right, there you go.
Thank you very much. Yes, I recall this situation.
Okay.
Really?
Could you? Sure. And just talking about the incident that happened on the 17th of September, can you describe what happened?
So I was getting calls from Fred Yalsberg. Basically, he was telling me he was being threatened by a unknown phone number. I also had Nick Stevens, a member of the DOJ, call me asking me to go and talk to Fred Yalsberg, who is a part of the PDO. And I was informed that it was at the same situation. Fred believed it was someone by the name of Anders, and he was consistently calling him, saying that he worked for me apparently and that he was going to hurt him. And I informed Fred that I had absolutely no idea who Anders was, and I never hire anyone, so I don't understand why they were saying that. Basically, in the same situation, William Benning was also being threatened by the same people from what I had been informed by Fred Yalsberg, and I had received information prior to that that a mass casualty of cops had been injured and taken to the hospital. So my course of action was to take Fred Yalsberg and William Benning, as well as other people, to the hospital where they could basically make a statement to a police officer that may not be as busy. Whilst trying to get everyone in their cars to go to the hospital, William Benning was basically refusing, saying that he was going to hunt the man, saying that he was sick of him being threatened, and that he wasn't leaving until this guy was found. I told him that that was not in his jurisdiction. I told him that he should come with us because it would be a lot more safer, and he said that he was going to hunt the man down. I made as a joke, saying, "Calm down, Bex Lawson," and he, for some reason, said, "Oh yeah, I spread 400 tapes about her."
Okay.
I questioned what he meant by that, and he just went quiet. And I didn't understand what that had anything to do with hunting the man down at the time until I realized what he meant. So I took Fred Yalsberg and a few others to the hospital to ensure their safety because I wasn't going to waste my time sticking around. And whilst we were, Fred Jarlsberg was getting phone calls saying that the person had seen me as well and was going to kill me as well. The person who said that he worked for me. And whilst we were in the hospital, I was on a phone call with someone. I can't recall who it was. It's been a while. And I see a man dressed in all black, wearing a skeleton mask that covers the back of his head, like a balaclava in a way, I believe, walk over to Fred Jarlsberg and pull out a gun. Now, I shout for the person to put it away, basically, for the security members and for the police officers that may be in the area to overhear. And the person puts away the gun after reloading it and looks for where the voice comes from my assumption, and finds me and says, from Benning's voice, basically, it was Benning, calm down, Cassandra, it's me, Benning. I'm going to go and find and hunt that guy down. And then he disappeared from plain sight. I don't remember where he went after that.
Okay. And was he a state representative at the time?
Yes.
And how did that make you feel?
Uncomfortable. I don't really know what words would describe the fact that someone who should understand who to go to was going out of their way in their jurisdiction to say things such as that. And yeah, it just baffled me.
Okay. Do you know if he ever called law enforcement to assist?
Did I call law enforcement?
I'm sorry, are you aware if he ever did?
Oh, I do not believe so, no.
Would you say that's fair to say that he wanted to take matters into his own hands?
Definitely. From how he was acting, yes.
Your Honor, I
All right.
object.
And
On what grounds?
In her original statement, she said that she was already in contact with law enforcement, but law enforcement wasn't available because they were again down at the hospital. So there was no law enforcement that showed up at the hospital.
I believe he should bring that up during cross.
Agreed.
Okay. Now, I recognize that you're wanting to head out of here pretty soon, so I'm doing my best to speed this up for you. I'd like to now talk about what we call the hashtag Frick Little Teapot situation. Do you recall that incident?
Yes.
Can you explain what happened?
Basically the day prior, the Little Teapot members had a dispute with Benning, from what they informed me, and Benning started spamming on Twitter frick Little Teapot as well. I don't remember the word by word, but basically making it out like this Little Teapot shouldn't be gone to is how the reputation would have looked. So I had called Benning out on Twitter saying it's not really appropriate as a state representative to post such things when, you know, people within the Little Teapot could potentially be his voters. It went quiet on Twitter for a bit, and then he calls me saying that I shouldn't worry about his job. I should worry about my job in the DOJ. And that if he wants to be state representative again, he won't have to worry because he'll manage to get it, from what I remember and recall. And basically put the phone down on me. So I call him back because at the end of the day, you know, I'm trying to have an adult conversation. And he asked me who I am. And I went, "What do you mean who I am?" He went, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, you just called me. You should surely have my phone number." And he went, "Who is this?" in a more aggressive tone. And I said, "It's Cassandra Cohen." He then replies with, "I'm sick of the DOJ. I don't want to work with you guys any longer," and then puts the phone down on me again.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
The next day, he appears at a Little Teapot. And to my worry, I call Garrick Mason, the officer, up to make sure that Benning wasn't going to do anything that would cause any more trouble for the Little Teapot staff, and wanted to make sure that, you know, their safety was at hand by having a police officer there. Sorry, let me put the phone down. basically, I had informed Garrick Mason of the situation that happened prior and explained my worries, but it seemed like Vince Donovan and William Benning had hugged it out. So Garrick had been called to a shots fired call and left. And basically, I walked back over thinking everything was going to be okay until I heard Benning say out of his own mouth, and by the way, if you need anyone to be taken care of, I have an unmarked pistol and I can kneecap anyone for you. In which is when I started texting Vince, like those text messages that are provided in my statement. And then I basically went to the police to report what I had heard because it wasn't a normal sentence some state representative, let alone someone would say. The topic at hand prior was from Vince talking about how he had a restraining order, I believe, against someone called James Reaper, I think his name was. And I think it may have been in regards to that.
Okay. All right. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what we call the strawberry helmet provocation incident. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Could you explain what happened in that incident?
It's been a while, so I don't recall how it happened at the start. I did write it in my statement again. It's more detailed. But basically, without looking at the statement, I had gotten called by Fred Jarlsberg saying that something was happening at the DOCL building, I believe. And I went down there to meet up with him. And as I walked up to the steps from the garage, I saw a load of people there, and there was a dead alien on the floor. Now, I don't know if it was a prop. I don't know if it was an actual person. I don't know. But there was like a pool of blood. So I called 911 for medical emergency, explaining that there was a dead alien or person or prop or whatever on the ground, and no one responds. And there's a guy with a strawberry helmet on, and William Benning had approached him and started following him around, and this guy is stating for him to leave him alone.
Wait, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you for one moment. Who was telling who to leave him alone?
The strawberry helmet guy was telling William Benning to leave him alone,
Okay.
but Benning was trying to get answers out of him, apparently. I had shouted over to Benning to leave the man alone. He's asked you to leave him alone. And he proceeded to follow, saying, I want to get answers out of him, yada, yada, yada. I then started to see like more aggression coming out and more disturbance out of the person wearing the strawberry helmet, in which I called 911 again for police matter. Because I felt like it was starting to get a bit too disrupting the peace, so to say. So Ruby Hope, the detective, comes and parks up. And I quickly rush down to inform her about what is going on. But before whilst I was calling her, the guy, I believe, pulled out a torch, and Benning was like, oh, do you want to go, like, trying to insinuate a fight with the person with the strawberry helmet? So I quickly informed Ruby about what happened whilst I was making the call, and before we managed to make our way back up the stairs to the DOCL building, Benning comes down to us and says, I'm sick of calling the police, you never respond to my 911 calls. Well, enough, it's time for Vigilante Benning to come out. And he basically left, got into his outlaw, and drove off.
And these were 3 separate incidents?
Yes.
How do all of these incidents combined make you feel about our current government? Or rather, State Representative Benning?
To me, that's not a state representative jurisdiction to go looking out for someone. It's not their jurisdiction to question someone. It's not their jurisdiction to insinuate fights, to threaten people, to not know the laws by brandishing weapons in hospitals. and throwing out threats and making statements about having unmarked pistols, it makes me personally feel unsafe, and it makes me feel like I personally am failing the civilians because they trust the state representatives, they trust them to make the laws, they trust them to know better, and that's nothing what I would expect out of a state representative at all.
Okay. And Ms. Cohen, I just want to end on this very quickly. You gave a statement to Cole Gordon, or you gave one to Cole Gordon.
I do not recall that one, so
Okay.
you'd have to provide me that.
Sure. Excuse me one moment. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Here you go, Ms. Cohen. Just want to let me know once you have taken a look at that.
And which part am I looking at, Mr. Hunt?
If you just want to take a look at page 2 for me.
Yes.
And there's a couple portions highlighted of this arrest warrant request. Could you explain why it's highlighted?
The yellow is the statement that I made, not Benning, and the blue is put together that he said tapes.
Okay. And so it says, to which Rep Benning then also replied, "All right, calm down, Bex Lawson."
Yes.
But you made that statement.
Yes.
Okay. And the tapes. Did you hear Mr. Benning say I was the one who spread 400 tapes about her?
Subconsciously, yes, but at the moment, no, because I was so focused on making sure people were in safety.
Okay. And then if you could direct your attention to page 5.
Bear with me. Yes.
And then there's something that's highlighted in yellow. Can you explain why that's highlighted?
I will read it out firstly. It says, William Benning shouted at Vince Donovan, I have an unmarked pistol and I can cap anyone for you. And the yellow is a separate incident from the one that is involved in that paragraph.
Okay. So the two incidents, they're kind of getting mixed up, but these were 2 separate incidents.
Yes.
And Your Honor, just for the purposes of the record, I am now showing Ms. Cohen the arrest warrant that has the inaccuracies marked, which has been provided to the defense a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a couple inaccuracies on the arrest warrant request.
Yes.
And those are the only 3?
From what I've seen, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cohen. Your Honor, I have no further questions for the witness.
Okay. Mr. Benning, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, thanks.
Hello, Ms. Cohen. How are you?
Not so close, Mr. Benning, please. Thank you.
I could be better.
So can I. Okay, let me direct you to the incident that occurred on the 17th of September at the hospital.
Yep.
When Mr. Jarlsberg called you, did he tell you the subject of Mr. Amon and his background?
Can
Like the type
you...
of person he was?
Well, Fred Jarlsberg called me before we went to the hospital, so it wasn't in the hospital. And he didn't know who was calling him. I had discovered it was Eamon Bell by looking at the phone records on my history.
Did you also know that Mr. Amon Bell had made many other threats throughout his time in the city, including shooting police officers and engaging in hostile acts anywhere in the city, including the hospital?
No, because I don't follow around people's day-to-day life.
Well, apparently you're following around mine.
Your Honor, I don't understand how that is relevant to say in a court.
Did you know that? Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Ms. Cohen, did you know that Mr. Bell was in the ambulance bay when I had my weapon drawn?
Clearly not, because I would have called the police if I had known he was there. If I'd known it was him throwing the threats around, but I didn't until the very last moment of the situation who it was.
Yet Mr. Jarlsberg attempted to call the police, and the police were not available. Because many of the police officers...
Keep it to questions, please, Mr. Benning.
Were you aware that there were no officers available to respond?
At the MRPD, yes, and I knew police officers were at the hospital, hence why I put them in the hospital, because I knew that there was going to be more police officers there to respond if something did happen.
But there were no other officers available to respond, is that correct?
I'm not sure.
The PD was called, and there were no officers available.
Your Honor, we'd object as the counsel testifying.
Your Honor, can I get a little bit of leeway here, because I do not have my attorney here?
Your Honor, if I may interject, I don't understand how me knowing when people are calling police officers is knowledge in my opinion. Like, he's asking me things that I wouldn't know what someone else would do in a situation.
Okay, let me go back to my questions, okay? Were you aware that Amon Bell was in the... I had already asked you this. Did you know that Mr. Amon Bell had called me and stated that he was outside?
No, because I was never informed of that.
Well, maybe sometimes there isn't enough time to act.
Your Honor, again, we'd object as the counsel testifying. He's trying to say that because no law enforcement makes it okay for him to be a vigilante, essentially.
Your
We'd
Honor,
object to that line of
All
questioning.
right, enough. Keep it to questions that she will be able to answer, Mr. Benning. She will not be able to answer whether or not you received a phone call from Joe Schmo, because she doesn't have your phone. Keep it to relevancy.
Well, I am advising her that a call was received.
You can say that in your statement, Mr. Benning. She's still not going to be aware.
Okay, let's move on to the second incident that you testified to. The hashtag Frick Little Teapot incident.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that Mr. Donovan and I have a very close friendship?
Not at the time, no.
Are you aware that Marie Weiss had asked me a question at Little Teapot, which I answered? I believe in one of your statements you said that I was an old guy going after someone half my age.
That is what Marie had told me.
Are you aware that I am not interested in Marie whatsoever like that?
Objection, speculation. The witness can't speak to Mr. Benning's state of mind and who he likes.
Sustained. And I'm not seeing the relevance in this at all either.
Do you recall what happened afterwards when I left the front of Little Teapot and went inside?
On which day?
That day, the day of the incident.
Which one? Because there was two that merged together.
The Frick Little Teapot incident.
When you left? Well, I wasn't there when you left.
No, it was before that. Well, then this would have to be as far as me testifying, so I don't think I can answer the question that way. All right, I'm going to move on from that. Okay, I'm going to go to the third incident that you mentioned, the strawberry hat guy.
Yeah.
Were you witness to the entire incident?
Have you followed him around?
No, prior to that, did you observe his vehicle drive up the stairs?
No, because I wasn't there.
So the only thing that you saw was me yelling at that gentleman in the mask. Is that correct?
That's what I said in my statement.
Let's talk about your statement for a second.
Okay.
Regarding your statements, your entire statement that you made, was that your original statement, or was anything changed about it after you had submitted it?
Which one?
All of them. Let's take all of them.
No, none of them would change. I wrote the statement, and then I wrote the incident 1 again for Clayton Knox, and then statement 2 and 3 I wrote once.
Were you able to review your statement after it was submitted to the DOJ for this case?
What do you mean, like, review? Sorry.
Like, were there any differences to the statement from once you submitted it to after you saw it once again to review?
No, I never got to properly review the warrant, if that's what you mean.
Did you ever have a conversation about your statements to media?
No.
You never approached a member of CNT and speak to them about your statements?
No.
Are you sure about that?
Asked and
Not that I
answered, Your
recall.
Honor.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I have evidence to the contrary.
Then you will present it when it's your turn.
Okay, I have no
I'll
further.
answer it like this, Mr. Benning. I do not recall giving my statement
Cohen?
to...
That statement will be struck from the record. You no longer have to answer any more questions, Ms. Cohen.
I have
Yes,
no
Your
further
Honor.
questions anyway, Your Honor.
Would the other side like to rebuttal?
I'd like to ask Ms. Cohen just a couple of questions, Your Honor, if that's all right.
Go ahead, Ms. Lawson.
Pardon me, please, Endeavor. Endeavor, okay.
Just hop over.
We're good. All right. Ms. Cohen, I'll be brief. Thank you for your time. Could you please just remind the court of your current position within the DOJ?
Senior State Prosecutor of the Department of Justice.
And how long have you been with the Department of Justice?
Since May, I believe.
So, in your opinion, it would be fair to say you've been there for a while. You have an idea of the standard proceedings of working with other members of government.
Yes.
In your opinion, was dealing with Mr. Benning on any of the above occasions in line with your dealings with other government employees?
No.
In your experience, have you had conflict with other government employees that was handled or
Microphone
approached in a similar way?
Microphone activated.
Could you explain more when you say handled or approached in a
Of
similar way?
course. So, for instance, there are conflicts between coworkers, departments, and surely, we talk this out or perhaps have a discussion, a meeting. It's safe to say you're familiar with the normal proceedings of that.
Yes.
Did your experiences with Mr. Benning compare to that, or did it fall in line with that at all?
No.
All right, thank you.
Any other state reps have any other questions?
No.
All right. Mr. Hunt, do you have anything further for this witness?
No, Your Honor. We call Serena Michelson to the stand.
You can wait until I dismiss this witness, please.
Apologies.
All right, Ms. Cohen, you may step down. I do know you have to fly out of the city, so if you have anything further, I will send you an email, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Hunt, go ahead and call your next witness.
We call Serena Michelson to the stand, Your Honor.
Detective Michelson, if you could please raise your left hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do swear.
You may be seated.
Detective, make sure you are speaking loudly, please, so the gallery can hear you.
As always.
Yes, madam.
All right, have a seat, please. Go ahead, Mr. Hunt.
Good afternoon. Could you state your name, spelling your last name for the purposes of the record, please?
I am Serena Michelson. Michelson can be spelled Mikaelson.
I don't have much questions for you, so I'm going to keep this quite brief. Do you recall responding to a call regarding William Benning with urinating on vehicles?
It was quite some time ago when I was a cadet, but I briefly do remember, yes.
Can you state what you recall?
I responded to a call at the dealership down at the south side known as Mosley's. We had gotten a call saying something along the lines of William Bennings just attacked one of our employees and had urinated on the ground. Can we have police, please? When I got on scene, I was with my supervisor at the time, Dan Daniels. We had gotten there. Arriving on scene, the individuals surrounded our vehicle trying to give us statements. So we started asking them one by one if they could just step back and let us figure out what's going on. My partner at the time was getting some of the statements and asked me to look around and get photos as I was still in training, and it would also help with me getting through my cadet phases. I went around, I got photos of what was needed, and then I informed my superior that there was some urine inside the mechanic store and what I should do with that. 'Cause at the time, I had not learned what exactly we were doing with samples of urine, blood, or bullet casings.
Okay. And you were involved in an incident quite recently today regarding Endeavor Jackson.
I was indeed.
Can you explain what happened in that situation?
Hold on. That is undergoing a actual investigation. She cannot speak on that.
Understood. I have no further questions for the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Benning?
I only have a couple of questions for you, Detective.
All right.
When they, okay, let me ask you this. Did you interview me regarding this incident, being the suspect?
No, because once we had arrived on scene, they informed us that you had fled from the scene.
Well, I left the scene. I had to clean up after myself.
Yeah, read object. Counsel's testifying.
Are you, okay. Are
Keep
you,
it to questions, Mr. Benning. This will be your last warning.
Yeah, okay, Your Honor.
Do not say, yeah, okay, to be. Do I make myself clear, Mr. Benning?
Yes, ma'am. Are you aware that I have a urinary tract infection, that I have bowel problems?
No, I would not be aware of this as I'm not a medical professional and I do not have permission to go through individuals' medical records unless given permission by the individual or if it is a DOA.
Are you aware that Mosley's Auto Body has a no use of the bathroom policy other than employees?
I am not aware. From the times that I was there, they allowed a couple of individuals to go use the restroom, but if that's a new policy, I was not aware at the time.
Did you check Mosley's Auto to see if they had a working bathroom as well?
I wouldn't be able to speak on that behalf. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know what exactly you would do with a toilet to see how it works.
Well, their bathroom was also out of order. And
Read object again as the counsel's testifying.
I have no further questions.
State reps, do you have any questions for the detective?
No, Your Honor.
Nope.
All right. Detective, you may step down. Please remember you are under oath. With that being said, because of the incoming storm, we're going to take a recess till the storm passes, and then we'll continue right after the storm.
Yes, Your Honor.